Okay, we are live, thriving live. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, October 31st, and had a little delay getting on here because we have, I'm discovering that Zoom has moved some things around, more options, more things going on. So let's see if we can get this rolling on Facebook live, see what happens. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's see. We should be going live any moment now. Anyway, if you are here watching, I am so thrilled that you're here. Thank you for joining us. I am changing it up a little bit today in front of my bookcase and trying to get a few things happening all at one time. And I don't know if the Zoom thing is going to work on Facebook or not. Let's see. Could be stuck. Might not be. Anyway, doesn't have to be live on Zoom. I mean, on Facebook. All right. Thanks for being here. I'm Gabrielle Senza, and this is Thriving Live. And this is the weekly show that I started, I think a little more than a year ago. And I'm pretty sure I now have, I just did my 40th episode, actually. Last week was the 40th episode, which is very exciting. And there's more to come. And I'm really excited about, what's going to happen next. Because I am finding my way through. I'm discovering it. I am learning as I go and learning to hear what needs to come forward as I go. So thank you for joining me on this journey and for being with that process. And if you've been here before, you know that I like to start with sort of a grounding pleasure first, sort of coming into the space practice. And so if you would like to join me with that, I would love it. No obligation. What I usually do is feel my seat in the chair, my feet on the ground, and take some long, slow, deep breaths. And in this case, since I have been on the road a lot the last few days, driving up to Vermont and back, I'm actually going to also do some Kriya shoulder exercises, just sort of open up my my shoulders again after all that being in the car. So on the inhale, I invite you to just raise your shoulders up if you'd like to your ears. And then draw them back, trying to get those clavicles to kiss in the back. And then exhale, drop them down on the back side, right? I'll do that a few more times. Inhale and bring the shoulders up. Hold and bring them back. And exhale, bring them down. And one more time. Inhale, bring them up. Hold and bring them back. Really open them up. And exhale, bring them down. Excellent. And any wiggling or stretching your body needs, I always encourage that, to listen to our body, to be really connected to what messages we're getting. And it's sort of been a theme that I've been thinking about a lot lately. What are the messages our body is giving us, and what is our relationship to our own emotional world inside of our heads or inside of our bodies? And I'm really looking at that because I understand how important it is to allow ourselves to learn, notice those things, but especially the importance of controlling our thoughts and not letting our emotions dictate our actions. And two, as you've probably heard here many times, to get better at feeling our feelings and not focus so much on just feeling better. right? Because there are lots of ways we can just feel better and bypass what it is that's sort of needing to be or wanting to be addressed, right? And to like move away from the feeling and the emotion. So I'm hesitating now just because there's so many different angles this conversation is coming to me, and that I've been engaged in the last several days or weeks even. So I'm just trying to choose which way to come into this conversation with this piece of information. So my partner, Dan, posted today on LinkedIn a post on emotions and light, and it's really hard to describe. Anyway, I invite you to go check out his post on LinkedIn, Dan Ruderman, and it's a dark picture with light coming in around a doorway, right? So it's a hotel room that we had this past weekend in Burlington. Lots of light was leaking in through from the hallway, which was kind of interesting. And so his post talks about how his initial feeling about it was critical, like what a shoddy place, what a this and that. And then when he was looking at the photos later or this morning in preparation for doing his post, he kind of reframed it or learned or saw that there's a different question to be asked, which I thought was really compelling in his post. And it was, what am I doing that could be blocking light from coming in? Or what am I doing to keep my light from shining out? And those are both really good questions to think about. And he went on to talk about how this season is what he calls the family death season, because a lot of very difficult losses happened in his life for his family around this time of year. And a lot of people, you may as well have this experience, feel loss of people you love really, really strongly during the holiday season, during the Christmas holiday, Hanukkah, like the winter holiday season. And sometimes we want to not think about those things and just kind of push it away or pat it down, tamp it down, repress it, because I think often it's because we're afraid of our emotions. We're afraid of like unlocking this Pandora's box of emotion and that we won't be able to survive it. And what I've learned is that we can survive our emotions no matter how bad they are and how unpleasant and painful they are. We can survive them. In fact, we have survived them. And maybe even worse, we've survived other things. And so to remember, I've been talking to myself about this a lot lately, because I think there are things that I say to myself that I'm not even aware of. And I am trying to create space. I'm actively creating space to have those conversations with myself, or to amplify the voices that are inside of me being very critical of me and what I've done or not done, or how soon I've done something, or how I've let something go, or how I didn't do whatever. It's like this constant little critical thing. And it's so quiet and it's so kind of like subliminal that I often don't notice, but my body will let me know. It, like, because like a shoot of pain, a jag of pain will come up, and I'll be like, oh my God, what's going on? Is there something out there that I need to be afraid of? And it's like, no, what was I actually thinking about? What was the thought that triggered that response? And I have to kind of go looking for it, because it's not just showing itself like, yeah, here I am, this is what I was saying. No, it's not saying that at all. It's more like, if I look and I'm like, what was that? And they're like, oh, it wasn't me. I didn't say anything. Right? Like, well, I think you did. come on out. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's going on. Like, what do you really think? And then I can be really surprised at how judgmental and critical I am of myself, and the things that I've done or not done yet, or I don't know, so many things. It's really, really fascinating to me. And it's not fun. I admit it. It's not fun work to like find out like, wow, I really say those things to myself, because I do so much work around this, like, and I help people see what they're saying and help them learn how to reframe and really consider how their words are impacting themselves or their work or their relationships even, and then exercises on seeing that and working with it and transforming it, transmuting it, so that we can have a better relationship with ourselves and therefore a better relationship to all the things that we're excited about or that are meaningful to us in our lives, including relationships or our work or our health and things like that. So I've been really working like an investigator on trying to figure out what are those things that are being said in secret in my own body, in my own head. And that's been a process. And the other observation that I made, this isn't recent, but I will mention it anyway, because it's relevant to the post that Dan put up. I mentioned that I think so many of us, and certainly myself included, very quickly, very readily go to critiquing and judging others, or a meal, or a movie, or the light leaking around a hotel room door, or the way the staff was behaving, or so on. And that certainly serves a purpose. I mean, we have to use our judgment in order to survive, right, in the world, and navigate challenges and all that kind of thing. And then there's also discernment. And then there's also, I think of it as a preoccupation. At least for me, this is what it was like. Like, I used to spend tons of time dissecting out the changes I would make in a place, or in the way I would manage people, or the way I would set up the restaurant, or whatever, these things. And it was like an exercise, like a thought exercise that I would indulge in frequently. And sometimes it would come out as criticism in a conversation with someone else about whatever it was I was complaining about or criticizing or whatnot. And I noticed that what might actually be more helpful, or what's actually being avoided and could be more useful, is, what is it about this thing that has triggered me to feel this way? What is it about this situation that has me feeling this way? Critical, right? Critical of something or someone. And what's the feeling? Is it a sadness? Is it an anger? Is it annoyance? Is it a feeling of lack or scarcity, or is it just an aesthetic thing? And why, if it's just an aesthetic thing, let's just go with that one for now, because that's the most frequent one for me, where it shows up. If it's an aesthetic one, then why is that important to me, right? Like, aesthetics can be really not important to a lot of people, but for me, it really impacts how I feel in a space, and like literally physically and emotionally and convivially, right? Like, if the space feels good, then we can have a really good conversation. If the atmosphere is good, if the company is good, then really good conversations can happen, and discoveries and stuff like that. But if it's a cold, damp or musty space, then I can't be present with the people. I want to get the hell out of there, really. Like, and that's a smart thing too, right? That's our body saying, I'm picking up something not healthy here, and you should actually leave. But separate from that situation, let's just say like the aesthetics of the space, or using like weird colors or something. So what does that make me feel like inside? Does it remind me of something, some experience that I had long ago where it was just really unpleasant or difficult situation or a scary situation? Does it remind me of something like that? Or, does it bring up a feeling of lack or doubt or goodness, or you know what I mean? Like, it can also bring in really good feelings. Like the aesthetics could be so on point for me that I feel like really awesome in that space. And it's like, wow, I can be really comfortable here, and I can really settle in and be present and creative, and new ideas come in. That's why I like being in my own studio space so much, because I have a lot of things that inspire me. And that can always bring me back up, even if I feel crappy for some other reason, either physically or out of some other challenge that I'm having. So, yeah, what's the thing that's behind that? And by having that emotional response, or being, let's see, how do I phrase this? By being kind of ignorant or unconscious of the actual emotion under the criticism, under the anger or the frustration or that judgment that I'm putting out there, then I kind of like avoid ever dealing with that, right? I'm just kind of complaining and blaming, putting it out there. But what's going on inside? Like, why do I feel this way? And if I'm feeling that way, is there something really important inside that I need to look at? So that's quite the process to go through, and it takes time and patience and some discomfort. And I've learned to be comfortable with the uncomfortable and to do the investigative work. And that's what my experience has been. It's involved a lot of that uncomfortable stuff, journaling, writing stuff out, even writing out things that I wouldn't want anyone to ever come across or read. And so I might write it in a document on my computer and then just erase the whole thing afterwards, which is actually a recommended process. I think Dr. Sarno recommended it around like helping to clear back pain and chronic pain conditions in the body, and allowing ourselves to actually verbalize and get this stuff out, written or however, not harming anyone. Or if it's on paper, writing it out and then ripping it up and throwing it away so that no one comes across it and sees that you might have said all these horrendous things about them, where you don't really feel that way from the heart, but there are feelings that have not been processed around a situation or a person or whatever. And so what happens with those repressed feelings is then they start showing up in our body as pain, because our body is like, hey, I don't want you thinking about those emotions. I want you thinking about this pain. We're so accustomed to pay attention to the pain in our bodies, right? And we're not well trained for paying attention to the emotions that are in our bodies, to the emotions that are happening. And then also noticing, how do those emotions then make us behave or act afterwards, right? So sometimes we might lash out at somebody, or we just complain, or we go back to bed, or we drink, or whatever the thing is that we want to do to help like push away the pain and the emotion and just kind of numb out. So it's really an interesting exercise to do this. And you can look up TMS if you want to, healing from TMS. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what it stands for. It's something like tension, muscular neuro, something or other syndrome or something. Anyway, it has to do with how we hold repressed emotions, and then our body turns it into pain because it doesn't want us to think through the emotions. It doesn't want us to look there. It wants us to just, yeah, don't think that. So as I was saying before about like how that tendency is to just complain about something as opposed to this other work that could be more constructive. It's a diversion. It's a way to use our minds to think about something else that often is just superficial. Like, I don't know, is it really useful? Is it really useful? I guess that's the big question. So these are my thoughts. And the thing that came in for me with Dan's post today is like Leonard Cohen's line in his lyric, the anthem. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And so how are we allowing the light in? Where are the cracks? Can we allow the light in? And then Dan's question was, am I blocking my light from shining? And noticing how you feel when you say something or someone says something else that feels like, do you feel good or do you feel bad? Do you feel better? Do you feel worse? Do you feel lit up and excited about that? Or do you feel like, oh, that's heavy and there's hopeless and all this stuff? Like, whoa, the energy totally changes. And how does that change? It changes every cell in your body, right? Whether you're going up or you're going down. It changes your mood. It changes your energy for getting through the day. Like, it changes everything. So that's why it's so important to focus on like, well, how am I feeling right now? And what's going on? And how could I feel 1% better or 10% better? You know, sometimes it's just a walk and getting quiet. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's a nice warm bath or a cup of tea or a hug. You know, there are all these ways. And not skirting around the messages that are coming through that you can ask, is this true? Is this necessary? Do I really feel this about myself? I didn't know I felt that way about myself, you know? And it's a part, it's just a part that needs to be expressed. And so as like full grown adults, we get to say, okay, part, let's hear what you have to say. Come sit on my lap. Let me hear what you have to say. What's going on? What do you need? And sometimes it just disappears. It just wants to be seen. It just wants to be held, not helped. Right. So that was big learning for me recently as well. So yeah, so that's pretty much the big stuff I wanted to talk about today that came up. And yeah, there's a lot more to come and I'm really excited about it. And we're just nailing down the organization and the calendar and the scheduling and the people and all of that kind of thing. And then I'll be able to share the details with you very soon. So until then, or even after then, feel free to comment in the comment section or email me, get in touch. Go to my website, GabrielleSenza.com, or if you want to follow the Terra Luna stuff that's happening, the art and climate action stuff that I've been working on, go to terraluna.earth. So it's TERRALUNA.earth, EARTH. So that's where I'm posting, the master classes that are coming up or performances that I've done or appearances, workshops, information that may be helpful for sustainability and climate action things. So you can always go there to subscribe and stay tuned and you'll hear what's coming up. And I think that's it for today, my loves. I'm going to sign off and get busy on some other things and prepare them for you. And I will be back with more details soon. Sending loads of love. Let me hear from you. Bye.